If you believe you have any information pertaining to this case, you are urged to contact the Richland County Sheriff's Department on 803-576-3000 or at sheriff@rcsd.net. You could instead contact the Richland County Coroner's Office on 803-576-1799 or rccoquestions@richlandcountysc.gov. In the early morning hours of Valentine's Day 1982, a woman was seen preaching to passers-by whilst wandering the streets of Columbia in Richland County, South Carolina. She claimed to be the daughter of Oral Roberts, a well-known Christian televangelist. Fearing this behaviour was indicative of an underlying condition, local law enforcement took her into their care. It's unknown whether she was found during a routine patrol or if a concerned citizen sought the aid of the authorities. At about 4:25 a.m, the police brought her into the Richland Memorial Hospital's emergency room, where they noted she was, quote, a possible danger to herself or others. Staff quickly determined she was suffering from a mental illness, most likely schizophrenia. Due to her illness, the woman couldn't supply her name, but she stated she was 38 years old. Refusing a physical examination, she told staff she wanted to go to South Dakota and was a member of the Sioux tribe, while maintaining her claim that she was Oral Roberts' daughter. A physician noted she was, quote, hostile when pressed and suffering from delusions. She was described as, quote, psychotic and unable to care for herself, unquote, and within hours was transferred to the South Carolina State Hospital, a psychiatric facility. There she was photographed upon entry. When she arrived at the state hospital, the woman repeated to staff her story of being a member of the Sioux tribe, yet claimed they, quote, didn't want her. She'd apparently been staying with locals in Columbia, but couldn't name them and said they'd kicked her out. She added she'd, quote, been sent to the hospital because she's going to have some babies, unquote. It was recorded that she consistently responded to the names Virginia and Jane. She provided a birthday of the 31st of January 1944. She was prescribed medications, but it's unknown if she voluntarily took any. At 10:10 p.m. on the 14th, the day of admission, the woman began vomiting large amounts of clear liquid. She was administered chlorpromazine and seemed to improve, being asleep in bed by 12 a.m. At 6 a.m. the following day, she was described as quiet and cooperative. She ate breakfast, responded to and complied with staff, and agreed to change into state-issued clothing. Throughout the rest of the afternoon, she spent her time walking up and down the ward and interacting with staff members and other patients. All seemed well until later that evening. Around 7:30 p.m, she suddenly developed a grand mal seizure and fell out of bed, lacerating the top of her head. She was then moved to an observation room where a doctor assessed her condition. She was given diazepam at 7:55 p.m, but by 8 p.m, she was on her way to the hospital's emergency room. By 9:10 p.m, the laceration to her head had been treated, though her movements remained rigid. At 11:18 p.m, after an X-ray was performed, she was administered a dose of chloramine. By 11:23, she'd been given an oxygen mask. Between then and 11:39, she'd gone into pre-cardiac arrest, for which adrenaline was administered. At 11:39, her breathing ceased. Within a minute, CPR began. And finally, at 11:46 p.m, a physician pronounced her deceased. At autopsy, her death was ruled purely accidental and, quote, not the result of any negligence or wrongdoing by the hospital, unquote. The ultimate cause of death was discovered to be respiratory insufficiency, secondary to bilateral aspiration of gastric contents. Major findings included pulmonary congestion and edema, and focal intraalveolar hemorrhage, all as a direct result of a recent grand mal seizure. The decedent was a white female estimated to be between 35 and 50 years old at her time of death. At 5 feet tall, she weighed about 130 to 135 pounds. Her well-maintained shoulder-length hair was wavy and brown with some grey near the roots, and her eyes were blue. Her eyebrows had recently been plucked. Her straight teeth were in very good condition, and she had high-quality dental work performed, including several amalgam restorations and fillings. Several teeth were missing, but she did not wear dentures. No scars, tattoos, moles, or other identifying features were noted. I was unable to locate a description of her clothing. After her death, the local media covered the woman's case heavily, yet no one came forth to identify her. Authorities checked missing person reports and circulated her fingerprints and dental information, but every lead turned up negative. Eventually, she was buried as Jane Doe in the county cemetery by the Richland County Coroner's Office. 14 years after her death, in 1996, her remains were exhumed in an effort to aid in her identification. It was determined she was likely of European ancestry and probably closer to 50 years old than she was to 35. A DNA sample was obtained, yet has since been deemed insufficient for genetic genealogy. Almost 40 years have passed since this woman's untimely death, and she remains nameless and unclaimed. She was well cared for once. Her dental work tells us that much. Someone at some point has to have missed her. A number of missing people have officially been ruled out as being this decedent. Please check the description of this video for a list of these rule-outs. Again, if you believe you have any information pertaining to this case, you are urged to contact one of the following: the Richland County Sheriff's Department on 803-576-3000 or at sheriff@rcsd.net, or the Richland County Coroner's Office on 803-576-1799 or rccoquestions@richlandcountysc.gov. Thank you very much for giving Richland County Jane Doe's case a moment of your day.